For years, I had thought about covering this topic, but just never really quite got around to it. But this is kind of one little gardening hack that has really kind of worked out for me when I've needed it. And now I'm going to be revisiting it for a slightly different application to kind of see how it works. So this video is about why I save my citrus peels and how they can come in use for gardening. But first, feel free to join as a member. I have some different ideas where I'd like to take this channel and how I'd like it to develop, and in order to do that, money becomes important. Alright, so let's get into the citrus peels. Alright, so here I have a garden bed where I had just planted some peppers. I think these are like technically greenhouse peppers. I think they're called like sweet sunrise or something, so they're a large sweet bell pepper. And so anyway, I'd put some compost down and used a post hole digger to plant these. I have this fenced off too to keep out rabbits. However, I've noticed that voles are still getting in. Of course, you know, they can fit through you know, wire with this size gauge. But anyway, what I want to kind of illustrate here is I also have this bag of dried citrus peels. Lately, feral cats have not been a problem here, which is probably part why I have a vole problem. But the citrus peels I've always used in the past to put down on freshly planted soil or disturbed soil, loose soil, to keep feral cats out, right? Because they like to use it as a litter box. Very convenient for them, not quite so convenient for me. And so citrus peels do seem to help that, right? And you don't have to apply them like thickly or anything like that. Just a few here and there is usually enough to deter the cats. And so that way you don't really have to worry about like you know, the peels changing the soil pH or anything like that. But these citrus peels contain aromatic compounds, and so those help to deter you know, cats. You know, cats don't like citrus peels. They don't like the smell of it. But also some other herbivores too don't like those strong aromatic scents. Maybe they don't want to get it on their bodies for whatever reason, or they just don't like the taste of it. It's maybe not something healthy for them to eat. Maybe that's an indicator of that. I don't exactly know. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take some citrus peels, and these are actually dried. You can use them fresh or dried. I've done them both ways. That way, like during the winter time, if I'm eating any citrus, I can save the peels, dry them up, you know, on a shelf, and save them over the winter time so I can use them later on in the springtime. Because generally, a lot of us are eating more citrus during that time of the year anyway than in the middle of summer, right? So anyway, I'm going to take these. I'm going to spread them out throughout this garden, right? In frame, yes we are. About like that. Now if you use them dried, and I can kind of even those out a little bit. Now if you use them dried, maybe then you can kind of spread them a little bit more thickly, or a little bit more densely anyway, than you would when they're fresh. When they're fresh, they're really potent, but these are dried, so they're not going to be quite as potent, but we are expecting some more rain today, and then once those hit the rain, they will become a little bit more aromatic, right? And they imbibe that water. Alright, so here we have the citrus peels, the dried citrus peels laid out across this bed of the sweet sunrise peppers. I have some other plants in here too, like sorghum. There's some volunteer cucumbers from the compost that got applied, so evidently that compost didn't quite get hot enough, but I welcome the cucumber plants nonetheless because they're the only cucumber plants that I have in the garden at this point in time. So the citrus peels had a really nice, pleasant scent to me anyway when I was throwing them out here into the bed, so hopefully they do not have a nice scent to the predators. Had a nice kind of citronella aromatic aroma to it. Lundberg is not a sponsor of this video. Just a convenient bag to use. Thank you so much for checking out this video on the citrus peels, why and how I'm saving them to use in the garden. They've been very effective at keeping cats away, that's for sure. I know cats are very kind of sensitive to some of those smells of citrus and other like very aromatic plant-based smells aside from catnip. And so other animals, such as some of these rodents like voles, may or may not be attracted by some of these smells. They typically avoid plants that have those strong smells, but it may or may not be enough to keep them out of the general area. But we'll kind of see how it goes. You know, I had a bunch of citrus peels on hand, so I figured I'd give it a shot. And of course, again, these citrus peels can be used fresh or dried. You know, I think that's one important thing. Oftentimes we're eating citrus during the winter time, right? And so that's a time when those peels can be dried and saved and stored until they can be used in spring, right, when we're planting out those fields to help keep animals from digging holes in there, especially typically like larger animals. And I found it to be helpful in that regard. And also for me, when I go into the garden, it smells kind of nice, you know, aromatic, citrusy. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Take care.